What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Doster. Got a fun interview on the way. I was able to catch up with Fordham head coach Keith Urgo, who, believe it or not, has made the Atlantic 10 a four-horse race. Yes, that is correct. We are sitting here 2 days after Valentine's Day, and the Atlantic 10 has come down to this. VCU sitting all alone in first place. Tied for second place, we have Dayton and St. Louis, like we all kind of expected. We all thought those were going to be the top three teams of the conference all the way back in October, right? And the Fordham Rams. I don't know how many people thought Fordham had a chance to finish somewhere in the top half of the league, let alone be in a position where on Saturday, if they win at VCU, will be sitting in first place in the Atlantic 10 Conference. Yes, that's right. The Fordham Rams are playing for a chance to be all alone, well, not all alone, be tied for first place in the Atlantic 10 in mid to late February. That hasn't happened in a long time, dating all the way back to 2007. We'll talk about that in a second. So it's been a terrific job by Keith Urgo this season. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. They are now sitting at 21-5 on the season. I think there's a chance that you can probably make a pretty good argument that he is going to end up being the Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year. That's who I would pick in this moment of time. It's been a great season for them. They're really defending, and you can see the culture that was instilled by Kyle Neptune last year kind of carrying over. Keith Urgo, hell of a guy, hell of a coach. We're going to get to his interview here in just a little bit. Let's talk about the top 4 big picture, however, the A-10 title race, because I do think that Saturday's game when Fordham is at VCU, I don't want to say it's going to decide who wins the A-10 regular season title, but I do think that a VCU win would put them pretty far in the driver's seat. I think that they would feel pretty good about where they are if they won, thanks to Zeb Jackson at URI on Wednesday night, going coast to coast in 4.2 seconds and hitting a pretty tough 18-foot pull-up jumper on the right wing. Hell of a moment, hell of a game, hell of a win for VCU over a Rhode Island team that's been playing pretty well. You know, Archie Miller's got those guys playing better of late. They just picked off Dayton recently, so we had them on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Make sure you go back and listen to that. But VCU is currently sitting all alone in first place, 10-3, top of the league, 5 games left. They are a game up on Dayton. They are a game up on St. Louis, and they are a game up on Fordham. They're 2 games up on Duquesne, who is all alone in 5th place. So of those 4 teams, I would say that St. Louis probably has the toughest run-in. You know, they play Duquesne on Saturday. They end the season with a trip to VCU, to Richmond, and then they obviously get Dayton at home in that Friday night blockbuster that we all thought was going to end up being the A-10 regular season title game, last game of the regular season for the 2 of them. I think Dayton probably has the easiest road. They do have to play 3 games away from home, but they're coming off of back-to-back wins. They just beat VCU and they just beat St. Louis, and they really probably should win their next 4 games. That is at Loyola, at UMass, George Mason at home, and LaSalle, who's also been a really surprising team, playing them at home. That's going to set up the trip to Chaffetz Arena on the final day of the regular season, which, whether or not there is a regular season title on the line, is going to be a terrific and entertaining basketball games. I don't think that we're well, let me rephrase that. Depending on the result on Saturday, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be something where the A-10 title is on the line, but if it is, it means that VCU didn't do what they were supposed to do. Their schedule is not what I would call easy, but they are the only one of the 4 teams left competing for this title that are projected to win all 5 of their final games by KenPom. They play Fordham on Saturday. They play St. Louis at home, and then the other 3 games are games that an A-10 title winner probably should be winning. So that leads me to the Rams for the Fordham variety and the importance of Saturday's game. Fordham's actually got a real chance here to put themselves in the mix for an A-10 regular season title if they can beat VCU on Saturday. I expect them to probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8.5 to 9.5 point underdogs. And if they can get that done, there's going to be a 3 or 4-way tie for first place. This is how Fordham's season ends after the VCU game. They're at last place Loyola. They're home for Rhode Island, which is not going to be an easy game, but it's a game that they probably should win. They're at George Mason again. Probably not going to be an easy game, but I don't know how much George Mason is going to be playing for in that moment. A winnable game for them. And then they are home for Duquesne. Duquesne's obviously been one of the more surprising teams and one of the better teams in the conference this season. Fordham is not good enough to show up and win those games without playing their best. They're going to have to play their best, but they are good enough that in a vacuum, I don't think anybody would be surprised if they won any one of those games. But all of that conversation, it's pretty much a moot point if they can't get that win on Saturday at VCU. They're not making up 2 games in their last 4. I don't even know if they would make up 1 game in their last 4 games. I don't know if Dayton or St. Louis would be able to make up a game on them in that setting. So the schedule the VCU has is favorable. They have a really nice run in. But I will say this. This is the single biggest Fordham college basketball game since February 3rd of 2007. February 3rd, 2007, Fordham was sitting at 6-2. They faced off with a fellow 6-2 Rhode Island. The winner of that game was going to move into sole possession of first place in the Atlantic 10. Xavier ended up winning the league that year. Fordham ended up losing 4 in a row after that matchup. URI fell off. They both finished tied for 4th place at 10-6 in the league that year, but it was kind of the same situation. Big game against the league, against a contender in the league with a chance to move into a tie for first place in the conference. So how is Keith Urgo? That's a lot better. How is Keith Urgo feeling about this matchup on Saturday? We talked to him about it now on the A-10 Insider podcast. Now let me welcome back on to the A-10 Insider podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network, Fordham head coach Keith Urgo. Keith, I think this is your 3rd or 4th appearance here. We're going to have to start paying you royalty fees at some point.
Yeah. I haven't looked at it. I'm a little nervous though, because I think everybody who comes on this show, it's kind of like the what is it, the cover of Madden or NBA, whatever. They're on the cover. Next thing you know, they're out for the next year. I think it's whenever I appear on here, the next game doesn't go so well. So I don't know. I got to take a look at the record.
I don't know, man. I don't know, because based off the last time that you were on here, I think you guys have won 8 out of your last 9. So let me start you off with this. You started out 1-3 in the league, right? You had a great non-conference, started out 1-3 in the league, and you found a way to turn it around in a conference that is, as I think it's fair to say, as balanced as anyone. Anyone could be anybody on any given night in this conference. So what's clicked over the course of the last month for you guys?
You know what I think? Honestly, our connectivity in the locker room has been fantastic, and these guys are holding each other accountable, and everybody is completely bought in. I've been around a lot of good teams, but this team specifically, I'm blown away by 10, 11, 12, 13 men. They're always dialed in. They're always ready for whatever whether or not it's a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Everyone who gets a chance to step on that floor, all they care about is doing whatever it takes to win. And as a result, you start to see everyone cheering for one another. Like last night, I'm walking down the bench and Darius Quizman and Enchel Charlton are on the bench, and they're going nuts for Zach Riley and Ramad Dean. Like, that doesn't happen on a lot of teams. Everybody is just whatever it takes to win, and the leadership's been fantastic. The staff's done an amazing job. So I think that's been, the number one thing. And quite honestly, they've developed an attitude of they believe they're capable of beating anybody they step in front of, whether or not it takes place or not. That mentality, I don't think, has really been around a Fordham locker room until last year. So I think that's the biggest difference. These guys are confident. They believe they're putting in all the work, and they see the depth and the energy that we have. And they love defense. They absolutely love playing defense.
I bet you love that, man. I bet you love that.
Oh, God, it's there's nothing better, right, as a coach. So them buying into that gives you an opportunity no matter who you play.
I think half of the battle with a team is believing that you're going to win when you go into a game.
Yeah.
Right? It's a small mindset thing, but if you're going in thinking, "Oh man, we're going to blow this. How are we going to find a way to not lose this game?" Versus, "All right, we're going to go win this game. Let's go get this thing done." Right,
dude.
When did you see that coming with this group? Like, was there a change? Was there a switch? Is it just a carryover from last season?
And you couldn't be more correct. I probably, like, our first couple of years at Penn State, man, we were just so used to losing. And all of a sudden we flipped that script, and no matter who we played, and then we went on a run, top 10 in the country, won the NIT championship. Mm-hmm. This program last February, honestly, it began last February. We lost 5 in a row in Atlantic 10 last year. And then in February, all of a sudden we started rattling off wins. We won 6 or 7 out of our last 10 or 9 or something like that. So it started to happen last February. It was carried over into the summer. And, a lot of these guys, Kyle Rose is the only one left over from previous Fordham teams. So all of these guys are coming in as winners. Like Anchel Charlton, he's done nothing but win his entire career. Last year we were 16-16. It wasn't a winning season, but it wasn't a losing season. So, nobody in this program at this point now believes that they're not capable of winning in the game. It's not like, okay, let's just be hanging tight inside that 4-minute timeout, hoping to steal it. It's like, no, we should be winning going into that 4-minute timeout and do what's necessary to hold on or put teams away. And that's a totally different mindset. That characteristic, I believe, is 5 to 7 points every night. It really is. You couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, well, you're going to need a lot of belief on Saturday, because I think that this is one of the games that I'm looking forward to the most in the league. And I was not expecting to say that back in October, Fordham heading down to VCU. But I did the math on this. I did my homework. It's the biggest Fordham basketball game since February 2nd, 2007. That night, Fordham, it was with Wittenberg was coaching. They played Rhode Island at home for first place in the Atlantic 10. Again, you're playing for a chance at VCU to be tied for first place in the Atlantic 10 in February. I know as coaches, you like to look at this as like the next game, like it's just a game, whatever.
Yeah.
But like it's games like this that you have to love as a competitor, right? Like this is the moment. This is it. Yeah. You got a chance to play for a championship right now. Forget March, forget the A-10 tournament, forget Brooklyn. Like you're playing for a championship right now. You got to love that, because I love watching as a fan.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to be even in the conversation, honestly. But I got to be real with you. These guys today, they didn't act like that. They're just literally just like, let's get better today. We closed the chapter on St. Bonaventure during film. Then we moved on. Already watched some film on VCU and did some walkthrough stuff, and they were completely dialed in. They're not really looking at it like that. I think as a result, I think they learned from the Dayton game here at home. They made the moment bigger than it actually was, and they just weren't ready for it. And we let Dayton come in here and stomp all over us when I don't think they're that much better than us right now. Very good team, but I think they learned from that. So they're not overhyping or getting, they're not like, oh, this is the biggest game of the year. So when the players are like that, the coaches are just, like, dude, let's go. And that speaks to the level of leadership that we have and the maturity that we have in this group. It's going to be an awesome environment either way, whether or not you play them first game or not. I mean, what VCU is, the tradition they've had, what they built there is awesome. And we're trying to get to that level somehow, some way, in some form. So, I love Mike Rhodes and his staff, man. I think they're one of the best in America. I can say that about a lot of teams in the Atlantic 10. I think Mark Schmidt is one of the best coaches in America, not just the Atlantic 10. Fran Dunphy is a legend. He's one of the best coaches in America. What he's done with Sally Shoe is ridiculous. You could say it about something, look at all the coaches in this league. It's remarkable that we don't get the respect that we deserve, quite honestly, in my opinion. But Mike Rhodes and his staff and the VCU fans, it's amazing. It's awesome. It's awesome. So credit to them. And I'm looking forward to, there's nothing quite like traveling with a team into someone else's environment and getting an opportunity to do something nobody expects you to do. And certainly nobody expects Fordham to go in there and win. So we got nothing to lose. So, these guys are fired up. Our team expects to go in and win. Our staff does, but nobody else does. So it's cool. Like, we call it road attitude. It's us against the world type mentality. And these guys are fired up for it.
Is that something that there's two ways to kind of look at it, right? There's one thing where you go into a game and you have a certain amount of expectations. There's pressure externally, but there's also the level of when you have those expectations, there's a reason that you have them, right? And there's a little bit of I want to say like an intimidation factor. Like when VCU is going on the road, everyone knows, hey, that's VCU. There's a reason why they're VCU. You know what I mean? So which you've been at Villanova, like you've been at powerhouse programs, and now you're at a program that's a little bit more of that you're the hunter at this point. You're not the hunted yet. You're still the hunter. Which do you like more? And how do you go about preparing differently when you're on this side of it?
Well, I mean, if you don't want to be the hunted, then what are you doing? I mean, being the hunted means you've been successful and your teams are just, killers and you've had serious runs and built something really sustainable. And, everybody wants to be the hunted. So naturally you're hoping you're at that level. Right. But, for us, it's just playing Fordham basketball for as many minutes as we possibly can. We have not played Fordham basketball for 40 minutes. We talk about doing it. We've got to eventually get to that. We're going to need every single ounce of as close to 40 minutes of what we call Fordham basketball on Saturday in order to compete, have a chance to win. So that's really all we focus on. So it's not really, we're the underdog or, we feel like we're a really good basketball team. We feel like we're really tough and really deep, that if we play the way we're capable of playing, doesn't matter who's in front of us, we're going to have an opportunity to win.
All right. So I need you to be honest with me on this one. Okay.
Yeah,
when you're playing VCU and the Peppers, their band gets going a little bit, are you kind of like dancing there, vibing a little bit on the sideline when they're going?
Man. Oh, dude, they played, I think it was down at Davidson, Jump Around came on in the middle, like right after timeout. And I was like, I'm living a dream, man. I've been waiting my whole life to be a head coach. This is a dream. Like it's a packed house, Saturday afternoon. Like where else would you want to be? And we talk about it in our huddles. Like, dude, like we're incredibly blessed. Like last night's environment here was off the charts. There's only so many people who got to experience what we got to experience last night in the entire country. And like to not take it, not enjoy it while it's happening. I can't do that. I've worked so hard. My staff's worked so hard. Players have worked so hard. You got to enjoy it. And there's nothing cooler than being in an arena, especially on the road when all we got is all we need. And, the music's blasting. You're like, yo, where else would you rather be, man? It's awesome.
It's what makes the sport the best, sports, right?
Man. Nothing like it.
Like, so I was talking with someone about this the other day. Like, you're not watching college basketball for the highest level of actual basketball play. If you're doing that, you're watching the Warriors, right? You're going and you're watching Kevin Durant. You're watching the Suns now. Let's be frank about it. You watch it because, one, you have a deep affinity for the team that you're rooting for, right? And two, because there's no environment, anything like it anywhere else in American sports. The only thing that's close is like if you go to to a European soccer stadium, right?
Yeah.
So what's it like now for Fordham basketball? Because I caught some of that game. Like you don't always associate Fordham with the best environments in college basketball. It was great last night.
No, it's been great the last several nights. Shout out to the shirtless herd, as we're calling them, in Rose Thrill. I mean, when you have Travis Ford, then you have.
Did you
Frank
say the
Martin.
Shirtless Herd?
Yeah, man. Shirtless herd is what we're calling it, baby. Hashtag shirtless herd. These guys are awesome. They're rocking. T-shirts made. It's trying to create some traditions here, man. So the shirtless herd is definitely now a new tradition at Fordham, and they're loving it. They're coming in. They embrace it. So it's pretty fantastic. So, for us, you have guys like Travis Ford come in here, Frank Martin, Mark Schmidt. They're all coming in here saying, yo, this is one of the best college environments we've seen anywhere. And those guys have played at the highest level, coached at the highest levels. For them to come in here and say that, man, there is nothing cooler than that. And it just keeps getting better. Last night was better than the last. To know that Rose Thrill is sold out for the next 2 games, we only got 2 left, but it's already sold out. That's what you dream of, man, especially if you're a coach or if you're a player. The energy right now on campus is off the charts, and it's a testament to the board of trustees, the president, Ed Cole, the AD. Everybody's on board, and now the fans are on board, the students are on board. It's pretty awesome to be a part of.
Is that you pushing it? Because I know there's athletic departments that will go all in on trying to create this stuff, or is this like fan generated, like just occurring naturally?
It's kind of occurring naturally, man. We're into it. We love
awesome.
The university.
Yeah.
These guys they're buying into the name on the front. They're doing whatever it can. They're not just basketball players. They're out in the community. They love being a part of the institution as much as they do the program. And it is a push. I mean, it is a total commitment, a new commitment from the board of trustees and the president and the AD to men's basketball. And it's evident. I mean, they're putting resources into it, and you're starting to see it. And the results are positive.
All right. So I mentioned earlier, February 2nd, 2007 was the last time Fordham played a game that was this big. Do you remember what you were doing on February 2nd, 2007? I don't want the exact day, but where you were or what your job was.
I was at Villanova. I was a video coordinator.
No, it was before you were there. You were still down at Gonzaga High School.
Well, I was 2007, 2008. So, yeah, you're right. So I was at Gonzaga. So I was coaching at Gonzaga. I was probably in, preparing for DeMatha in the WCAC or Paul VI or something like that, completely dialed into whatever scouting report I had to do for Steve Turner at Gonzaga. But pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's putting into perspective. It's been a long time since Fordham fans had a chance to celebrate something like this. So listen, for all you guys listening, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you celebrate it. Back these guys. You got something special brewing up there at Fordham. But it's Rose Hill, right?
Rose Thrill. We're calling it, man.
Rose Thrill. Man. I love it, man. Listen.
Hey, Rob, thank you so much. I appreciate you having us on, man. And it means a lot to us. So thank you very much.
And look, Knocking on wood, man. There's no curses here. There's no jinxes here. Go out and get us a win, man. Best of
Appreciate
luck
it,
to you,
man.
all right?
Appreciate you. Good luck. Go Rams.